Alright, so we all love shooting over a ball, don't we? There's a couple of things that we need to keep in mind when we're shooting over a ball. And we'll talk about some basic mechanics when it comes to shooting over a ball here. Number one is we have to bridge a little bit differently. So when we're bridging over a ball, we need to try and get some sort of height and still be stable. And my favorite type of bridging for this is a tripod bridge. It may be a little bit different than other tripod bridges you've seen. What I like to do is I take my third and fourth finger and I curl them up underneath, making this rock and roll sign. And when I place those two fingers down, I can plant those third and fourth fingers down firmly to give me 3 points of contact. All good bridges have 3 points of contact. This is one way, and this is the way that I prefer to shoot over a ball. You'll find a lot of the amateurs, they don't know what else to do, so they hold the cue like this, and everything's just flopping all over the place. It's not very stable. So give this one a try. You can start off with a regular open hand bridge. Fold those third and fourth fingers up underneath, keeping it flat. This is the same bridge, and then just by pressing down with your third and fourth fingers, it gives you the height necessary to clear a ball. Next thing what we're going to talk about is how to aim these shots. When we're level, we can aim by seeing straight through the cue, over the cue ball, and at the intended target. When we're elevated, things look a little bit different. We can see it here fine, but as I come up, my head and eye alignment is no longer at that target once I get to a certain elevation. So I like to draw a line from the cue ball to the intended target, and I pick a spot just a few inches before, or just a few inches outside of past my cue ball. This is a good technique for aiming for jump shots as well, or any other type of elevated cue action, is by picking a spot on the table on that line. And as long as I can see my cue go over that line, then I know I'm going to be on the correct path. I'm just aiming to send the cue ball over that spot. I'm no longer looking at the target, and that seems to work well for a lot of folks. Now the definition of a masse is when we hit an elevated cue with side spin. And one of the most common errors that I see, or one of the biggest reasons why I see people miss these shots, is they don't even realize or didn't mean to masse. They end up hitting it hard, they lose their mechanics, their alignment, and they don't stroke straight, so they hit on the side of the cue ball with an elevated cue, causing that ball to masse and spin out. So it's very important we don't use any more power than what we need to. And that's something to consider as well. If you hit hard with an elevated cue, you're going to jump the ball. So I don't know how good you are at aiming jumps and aiming masses, or even potentially aiming jump masses. That's a shot in itself. But if you're not good at any of those things, I'd recommend you follow the very, very simple method of rolling the cue ball. Since I'm going to be elevated, I will be stroking down at the cue ball, which means my cue is going to continue on this path towards the table. It doesn't mean you have to stroke into the table, but we want to keep the cue on the same path. Try to avoid a motion that you try to prevent the cue from going into the table by lowering your back arm. We don't want to do that, because that's not a good follow through. We want to stroke straight through. So we put it all together. You can aim this like a normal shot. I recommend getting into your tripod bridge first. Aim it like a normal shot. And then as we come up, we're just going to bring our cue back straight up. If you can do underarm, fine. If you can't, do sidearm and aim for the spot on the table with no more power than what you need to. And that's a really good way of aiming and shooting over a ball.